What kind of issues could you potentially run into by having a set deload structure? Like, let's talk about the pros, but also the cons. Like the pros, maybe, okay, this guy's doing a deload, great, thumbs up. But maybe there's cons to that as well when it's set every fourth week, for example, and there's no wiggle room.
So yeah, the cons are that if you get the dosing wrong on the front end, then the deload will inevitably be either too late or too early or not enough or too little. Like if you have 3 easy weeks of training that are barely stimulative, and then you take a deload week, you essentially just did a maintenance block. The pros of having a set deload, if you're dealing with a population that in general is anti-deload, overworking, and tries to avoid deloads at all costs because they always want to be pushing. If you have kind of the chronic overworking athlete, is that you're going to be under recovered. Is stress worse than normal? And then are your aches and pains worse than normal? And if the answer is yes to 2 or more questions, that's when I typically will do a deload. But if it's not, then we might make a small adjustment or just run the block again. So like, for example, if your loads are actively decreasing throughout it, maybe we'll just pull back on the RPE, but everything else is fine. Maybe we're just overlapping too much recovery. But if let's say you're dreading the gym, but everything else is fine, maybe it's just not a program you enjoy. If your sleep or your stress is worse than normal, but you seem to be doing okay on the program, then that's another opportunity to start a conversation with coach to athlete. What other things can I help you with? If aches and pains are worse than normal, but everything else is great, maybe it's something like, hey, we need to not be doing supinated bicep curls all the time. Let's get an easy bar or do some hammer curls or something like that. So it's a useful metric of getting information, but it's also a nice checklist where I can then go, okay, you're at the threshold. We'll address those issues, but also let's do a deload. Like when I write a bodybuilding program, it will result in a mesocycle that we then try on for size. You might find a quote unquote full body day where I don't train a muscle group at all.